A very good afternoon. Welcome to yet another edition of the Uckfield Business Podcast with me, Ian Noble, from Uckfield Chamber of Commerce. And joining me today on the show is neither of the people on the graphic, but none other than Gary King. So, Gary, hopefully joining us now. Hello,
Good
Gary.
afternoon. Good to see you, Ian. Nice to be here again.
Good to see you too. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's less than 6 weeks until Christmas, and it's the final Uckfield podcast of the year. I see.
Indeed, yeah. Less than 6 weeks to Christmas. Final Uckfield Business Podcast of the year. And we've got a few things to look forward to today. We've got the guys from King's Church joining us a little bit later on, Aid and Grace. We've been chatting pre-show, so we're looking forward to having them join us. But before we get into any of that, you mentioned Christmas already. Just 2 weeks tomorrow, we have, of course, late night shopping in Uckfield. How exciting is that?
It's an event which it's been going on for years. We were just discussing, weren't we, beforehand? When did Christmas late night shopping begin? And I'm sure it's been going at least 2003, 4. I mean, As a radio station, I remember there's photos of us all in our fleeces going back to 2007. But when we weren't full time on air as well, we were just getting covered in snow because there were some late night shopping nights which were freezing cold, and the town was made look Christmassy with a blanket of snow. Like we've had a blanket, well, not even a blanket of snow, a flurry of snow today, I think, across town.
It's tried to snow in Uckfield today, but it hasn't succeeded. Of course, late night shopping is a chamber event. It's the Chamber of Commerce put this event on for the town, but we can't do it without the help of so many different people. And of course, just to touch on a few before we get into the main event today, of course, East Sussex Fire and Rescue are always with us. So top centre there is the fire engine. If you've ever wanted to sit in a fire engine, that's your chance on late night shopping night. That's great. We've got the art trail. We've only got 2 estate agents this year, and these guys put on art and craft stalls for us. So that's Freeman Foreman, and it'll be Uckfield in the bottom of town. And then we've got all the stalls in the high street, and we've got more stalls, drink and food stalls than ever before this year. We really have. I was out with Kaylee De Silva yesterday, walking the high street, looking at where we're going to put them all. And there's Beacon Down Vineyard, a chamber member there on the middle right, Gary. And can you see what Paul is wearing around his neck? Can you see what he's wearing?
No, I can't.
He's wearing a Brighton scarf. I just thought I'd put
is
that
he?
in.
Oh, thank you.
That was just for you. That was just for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've got the dancers. So in the bottom right and bottom centre, we've got the dance displays outside the Civic Centre. Bottom left there, we've got Santa on his sleigh. That's the Lions. Uckfield Lions provide Santa for us. And then tell us about the centre picture and the one on the left there, Gary.
Yeah, it's the local schools, the school stage, which we've been sort of organised, planned, and in previous years we've always broadcast late night shopping on the radio. This year we're not broadcasting it live. We're just going to make sure that we're present and everything goes well on the night, because sometimes coming across on the radio, it doesn't always come across well for listeners to hear. But so for this year, we're not broadcasting it live, but I think there's about 11 schools taking part from around 5 o'clock onwards. I think Uckfield College are taking part, and most of the schools are the primary schools around Uckfield and the surrounding area, and it's always well supported by parents. All the parents from all the schools only arrive about 5 minutes before their school's due to go on and perform, and they all have about 10-15 minutes usually.
There's a schedule there, and we can't do this without the support of you guys at the radio station, and of course Ashdown AV, our friends, chamber members. They sort of produce it and make the sound really, really good. And it is one of the main attractions of late night shopping, as you say, Gary, there. And then finally, top left, the lovely Margaret Doty Angel and Nigel Woods marshalling. And we do still need a few more marshals. So if you're around on the 6th of December and you'd like to help out for an hour and don a high-vis vest, then just let us know. Get in touch.
Should just say that the the school choirs will all be performing outside Hartfields. That's
Yeah.
where we always do it from.
In the town square, we call it. It's not
So
really
big thanks to that. Big thanks to them for the supply of power, etc. Because without that, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, good shout. Hartfields provide the power, and the other business that we couldn't do it without is Independent Logistics Solutions, who provide the truck, the Arctic, that doubles as a stage, of course. So they provide that. And one thing we do ask people is not to park in the high street on that day in the lay-bys, so we can get them all ready for late night shopping. Now, one bit of late night shopping we haven't mentioned, Gary. Can you think what that is?
Must be the Nativity.
It is the Nativity,
which again we've been doing for a number of years now.
That's right, and there we are. We've got our own slide there for the Nativity. Usually has someone standing in the high street dressed up, pointing the way to Bethlehem. And this is a walk-through Nativity that the King's Church and the Baptist Church put on together. All the characters dress up in the Bible story, and the children walk through with their families and hear about the story of the first Christmas, which is lovely.
And where does that take place?
So that's at the Source, which is the building at the south end of Luxford Car Park, just by the Civic Centre there. So up Civic Approach and into the car park, that's all closed off as well. And I should add that the high street closes to traffic at 5 p.m. and will open no later than 10 p.m. So, Gary, should we go to guests on?
Go on then.
Okay, good. So here we go. So here we have Aid Ward and Grace Jones, get your name right, joining us from King's Church. Good afternoon, Aid. How are you?
Hi, Ian. Hi, Gary. Hi, everyone. I'm well. Yeah, just coming through a cold, actually, but hopefully you'll hear me loud and clear. And it's a real privilege to be able to join the podcast. Thank you for having us.
Good. And Grace, good afternoon to you. Are you well?
Hello. Yes, I'm well. I'm recovering probably from the same cold, but we're getting through it.
And I didn't realise, Grace, your surname was Jones. I mean, that's an 80s singer, big 80s singer.
I've always wanted to be a Bond girl.
There we go.
Exactly. Yes.
There we go. All good stuff. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. And now in that last slide, a few people you might recognise in that last slide, either of you?
Yes, a few faces.
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah, brave in the cold. And I've been out on a late night shopping night, taking part in this event myself, and it has been jolly cold before.
Yeah, I think they've normally got about 6 layers on underneath. That's why their costumes are so big.
Yeah, that's right. What did you dress up as, Aid? Can you remember?
I was a wise man.
Yeah, very, very appropriate for you.
Hopefully I still am.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, look, it's great. Thank you to King's Church and the Baptist Church, of course, for doing that for us on late night shopping. We're very much looking forward to that, as we've already said. So, welcome along to the podcast, guys. Really good to have you. What we're going to do is we're going to talk through some slides for those that are watching on YouTube. And we're going to try and describe the pictures as well, Aid, if we can, so that anyone listening just on the podcast version can get a flavour of what we're about today. So just to sort of a bit of context here, just tell us a little bit, Aid, first of all, about yourself and your role at King's Church before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and then I'll let Grace do the same, if that's all right. Tell us who she is. I'm the senior leader of the team here, have been for 12 years. So I work full-time for the church, and probably the best name to use for my role is like a pastor, a church pastor. So that's my job, and I have been doing it, like I say, a dozen years. Came down from Sheffield, love Uckfield, love East Sussex, and love the job. It's a privilege to lead people, care for people, teach people, and work with people like Grace and other people who are on the team who help shape what we do.
Very good. Thank you, Aid. And Grace, what about you? You've been around a little bit more recently than 12 years. You haven't been involved quite that long.
No, I've been part of the church for about 5 years now. We joined about 6 months before COVID. So that was a bit of a shock. But I've been on staff for nearly 2 years. It'll be 2 years this beginning of the January. So, but I'm the church administrator by title. But I think all administrators will appreciate that isn't just limited to administrating documents. It captures many things. So I do anything from organising to shopping. I do a lot of shopping, and organising people, planning events, decorating. My role has grown a lot since we moved to our new building, which we'll be going through. So a lot of interior design, which was a hobby of mine, so I've liked to tap into that. But yeah.
Good, that's lovely. Thank you, Grace, and we look forward to seeing some of your interior design as this podcast unfolds. Gary, do you know where this building is on the industrial estate? Are you aware?
I do know where it's on the industrial estate, and it's great that you've taken this over. But just going back, you've moved around over the last, for you, Aid, for the last 12 years. For those who don't know, you used to be in Grange Road, didn't you? Many years ago.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the presentation, there might be a picture of that previous venue. So do you want to talk about it now or talk about it later?
Yeah, let's come.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's go now. Let's talk about this now. Go on.
No problem. So I came 12 years ago, and at that time, yes, we had as an office a rental on Grange Road. You can see the picture there, top middle. So just off the high street, 2 floors. The downstairs were offices and a small meeting room, and the upstairs was a larger room that we used for our toddler group. The upstairs, compared to other venues we subsequently hired, and obviously compared to where we are now, was very small, but we nonetheless were able to do lots of really valuable things serving the community from that base. And then alongside that, for non-Sunday activity, on Sundays we would rent the civic centre, have the hall, and then use some other rooms for kids' work. So the civic centre was our home for a Sunday for decades, an awful long time. A good venue in terms of location, but people don't know really that you're there, apart from if they're going shopping to Tesco, and you can put temporary signs up. But otherwise, King's Church was known in the town for all that it did, serving toddler groups, running a group for people who wanted a free meal called Open Door. That went on for years, doing things on the field since my time, but long before my time, some really big events on the field with orchestras, bands, etc. So I think people would have known our name, but if you were to ask them, where does King's Church meet? They would have been scratching their head, I suspect.
So what about the building on the right, Aid, in that picture?
The building on the right. Now, this is River House, and the dentists occupy the main street downstairs part of it, and upstairs is a surveyor. And we 2 and a bit years ago took out a lease for most of the downstairs. So it opens up onto a car park there, and then it's the service road up to the civic centre. So it sort of runs parallel to the high street. Now, this was not big enough to have our Sunday morning meetings, but still served us quite well for office space and small meetings. And we could push all our PA gear in their flight cases and other different things we needed up to the civic centre via that service road. But I have to say, now we're in our own building, I don't miss doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I got involved in that a few times, and it wasn't easy. And Grace, you worked in that building as well, of course.
Yes, in the corridor. Yeah. When I moved over, we had a bit of a rejig of the rooms and made a lounge space so that we could expand our kids' work. So our kids met in there on a Sunday, and we had meetings and little groups that would come out throughout the week. But yes, it was nice to be there, and it was nice to be close to the civic centre. But I'm so thankful where we are now compared to that.
Well, look, we'll come to that in a second. But just before we leave River House, so the church still own the lease, is that right? And looking to sublet, is that worth mentioning, Aid?
Yeah. Well, thanks for. I was wondering about whether I might chip in on that front. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning it. We have a break clause for our lease coming up in sort of late May, but we do have an arrangement with the landlord that if we could find another tenant, that tenant could take over and start a new lease with the landlord whenever it was possible. So we've had a few viewings. Office space isn't as much in demand as it used to be with people working remotely, but it's a good set of rooms, 4 or 5 rooms, near the high street, cheaper than the high street because it's not the high street. And yeah, contact Lawson Commercial and we can show you around.
Good. Thank you for that little plug there. So anyone looking for some business premises in Uckfield, have a look at River House. So we've gone off piste a little bit here. Let's take us back to the beginning of this presentation. And of course, the move to the new building, the first Sunday. Now, remind me when this was, guys. When was the first Sunday?
This was July the 14th. And yes, it was warm. It was sunny. And it was a momentous day for us as a church, having existed for 40 years as a nomadic people, hiring venues, relying on other places being available, never finding the perfect home. To have our own building is an amazing breakthrough for us. So this first Sunday was very special, as you can imagine. I'll talk more about the preparation that was required and the journey that got us there. But on this first Sunday, it was great. We could have a barbecue afterwards to celebrate, and we were able to just review the story. So there's a picture of me there on the left on a Sunday morning, that Sunday morning speaking, and there's some pictures just reviewing something of our history and to remind ourselves of how far we've come and what an amazing moment it was for us to be able to celebrate together, meeting in the building.
Very good. Okay, so that was the first one. And do you want to just walk us through how the church got to that stage? Because, it just didn't happen overnight. I mean, a building like this costs a lot of money, doesn't it, for a start?
Yes. So we had 10 years ago started looking for our own building, and we invited the church members to give money, not with any pressure. They weren't coerced, but we've got a group of people who are very generous hearted in terms of giving. So that supports all that we do as a church in terms of my salary, Grace's salary. And we're not large in number, around 100, but all that we really do as a church is with a view to bless the community and serve the community. And so behind this vision for our own building wasn't just to make our life easier, to have everything under one roof, to avoid having to hire and push things around. It was also to have a base from which we could really serve the town in a more enhanced way. So the church membership got behind this vision 10 years ago. And we had a succession of what we call gift days, where people were free to give financially towards the purchase of an all-purpose building. We knew when we started as a church of 100 to buy a building in Uckfield, first of all, what would be available? Would anything be available to buy, not just rent? Because we wanted our own property to purchase. And where would it be? We weren't spoilt for choice. And we also knew the financial challenge was considerable. We're talking a project that we knew would cost at least £1 million. So 10 years ago, we started this journey, and we accrued a fair amount of money, over £500,000, but that was still some way short of the purchase price for a building like this. But it wasn't just about the money, it was about the right building being available at the right time. Because often on the industrial estate, as you well know, properties come up for lease rather than sale more often than not. And we weren't interested in a lease, we wanted to buy. And I viewed this property April 2023, and it had been a building that had previously been used for light industry, but most recently it was a large office building and like a call center, I suspect. So the building comprises a massive room upstairs at the back, a large room downstairs at the back, and then a series of other auxiliary offices. And so on viewing the building, it was interesting because it was 2 floors. That's quite unusual for a church to have a building of 2 floors. But the quality of the building in terms of the finish was really very good, because it's not a former industrial unit like breeze block and tin roof. It's actually brickwork, plaster, painted, carpeted. Okay, not always to our taste, but nonetheless, it was in good condition. So on viewing the building, I shared with my team of leaders and trustees that this is something that has real potential for us. It's available to buy. It's a great location. So just to clarify where it is, if you don't know, it's pretty much opposite Eisenhurst Gym and the Cement Works Fun Abound. So it's near the centre of town, just a few minutes walk. It's got absolutely superb parking, which we we need as a church. It's got at least 50 spaces for parking. We know on Sunday mornings the industrial estate is quiet, so the road is available if need be as well. So there were lots of reasons why this seemed to be a prime building for us to consider. So the leaders, the trustees said, well, let's go to the church members, let's tell them about the building, and let's see what their response might be in terms of pledging money. Because we had about 600,000, this building, the asking price was 1.5. So we went to the membership. Don't forget, the membership isn't large, it's about 100. And the response was incredible. So over the course of a month, we saw money pledged that took us up to 1.3 million. And so we negotiated a price, and in the end, we bought it for that amount. And we that was accepted in June 23. And then we spent the next 5 months putting together an application for change of use. So we instructed a planning agent, and I worked with him closely, and we secured change of use just before Christmas last year. And then we completed on the purchase of the building January this year. And that was amazing. Change of use went through like a breeze. I think 7 or 8 years ago, with various restrictions, it wouldn't have done, but it went through really quickly. And then we embarked on a sort of 6-month program of making the building ready for our use. Now, it is in good condition compared to an industrial unit, as I say, but there were lots of things we had to do to comply with access and fire safety. So new automatic doors at the front, new fire doors, ventilation system. So you can see pictures here of different things going on. You've got a picture top left of Colin, the chair of trustees, who did an outstanding job working with me on this project. That's us with the keys, January, completing on the purchase. You've got Grace in the middle with Steve, one of our leaders. She's doing some of her excellent interior design there in the lounge. You've got me with my head on my hands, middle left,
You're scratching your head, aren't you?
Yeah,
You're scratching your head.
Not in despair. I think I'm trying to protect my bald head from the sunshine. As our excellent sign was put up on the front of the building, which we're very proud of. It really helps people see who we are and where we are. And then chairs being delivered, volunteers from the church doing concreting, mixing for a path, and then a guy, Ollie, one of our younger dads, he's good with DIY. He's putting a hole in the wall for a ventilation unit. So that's just a flavour of what we had to do. I mean, it was 6 months of a lot of work to really bring it up to compliance as much as anything. And that all led into then the 14th of July, our first Sunday.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. And Grace, you definitely, you led on it, you designed it, and then you started painting yourself as well. So, that's brilliant.
Yes. Lots and lots of days of painting.
And that sort of teal colour, is that your choice?
Yes, we have a little creative team of ladies in the church of different age demographics, specifically chosen so that we can be a bit more broad. And we did a bit of a rebrand at the beginning of this year as a church. We thought, let's pair it with moving to a new building. So we had an opportunity to change our turquoise blue, which you'll find everywhere. And we've moved to a teal, and we've got a large palette. So you'll see the same colours throughout the building and on social media. And we've had a refresh with our brand. So yeah, the teal was, it was definitely needed to help us modernise our look. But yeah, that's good.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the top brands in the world rebrand from time to time. And so tell us just a little bit about who helped the church rebrand, because a chamber member, I believe.
Yes. A Lazy Daisy helped with the rebrand. Rachel did a phenomenal job helping us, graphic design and our logo and all that. So we worked. I mean, I still message her most days back and forth about various things. Rachel's my go-to gal.
Did you have to get external help on the building itself, or was the building in such good condition that you didn't need to get plumbers and carpenters and builders in to do actual any work before you could move in and take it on?
We had to have automatic. Go on. Do you want to carry on, Grace?
Oh no,
Sorry.
go on then. You go for it, Aid.
Oh, well, we had automatic doors installed at the front to provide access, and fire doors at the back, and then we had a lot of electrical work that needed doing. So I think, and then the ventilation unit installed. They were the main jobs that we couldn't do ourselves.
Yes. If we could do it DIY, we generally did. So we have a ramp outside the front, which Colin, the chair of trustees, headed up, and he made it for much less money than if we'd had it done properly by a professional. So we've tried to rein in our spending as much as possible and do things DIY. And we've had an incredible bank of volunteers who have given hours and hours and hours of their free time and evenings, Saturdays, taking annual leave so they can come in and help. It's been a massive team effort. Definitely.
A real labour of love, we could say,
Yeah.
I think, from the guys at King's Church, and it's a privilege to be part of that myself. So just to reiterate the branding, Lazy Daisy, Rachel Banham. If you need your branding done, guys, she's your go-to lady in Uckfield. I just want to get that plug in for Rachel. So, Aid, what happens next then? Where are we? Here we are. Previous venues, we've done that.
Who we are.
Who we are. Tell
I thought it'd be quite helpful for people to try and understand something of our history as a church. I mean, we've talked about venues and buildings. So King's Church was established about 40 years ago, and we're part of a wider group called New Frontiers, and we're in New Frontiers heartland, really, because this group of this church movement began on the south coast about 50 years ago, and lots of towns in Sussex, for example, will have New Frontiers churches. A good number of them are called King's Church, and they will typically have started in school halls, but bought warehouses. So King's Eastbourne have got a huge warehouse. King's Church, Mid Sussex, Burgess Hill have got a large warehouse. I mean, those two churches, sort of 500, 600, 700 people each. There's others in smaller towns nearby, King's Lewis, there's Christchurch, Hailsham. Yeah, King's Heathfield.
State Hall, yeah.
Yeah, so
I presume State Hall is their building as well.
Yeah, they own that. All those churches I've named own their own buildings. So we've been wanting to catch up. And so, yes, that's the history and heritage. It's a 50-year-old movement. And there's lots of towns around about here with New Frontiers churches. They're not all called Kings, but a good number of them are. And actually, it's national. There's 400 or so, if not more, New Frontiers churches in the UK. And there are literally thousands overseas in Africa. There's some in America, across Europe. So it's gone from a group of churches about 50 years ago in the southeast of England, right near here, to something truly global, which is fantastic. And we do teach and preach the Bible, and we do call ourselves Christians, and the clue's in the name, people who love and know Jesus Christ. And we want to represent him well, and we want to serve the community and love people, because that's what he has done. And so that's our sort of mission and our purpose, really.
I mean, most people, when they hear church, you think of an old building. As you say, King's Church are very modern, using modern buildings, warehouses on industrial estates like you are, like the one in Burgess Hill. Does that make things tricky when you've put the process of actually getting agreement that your building can become a church? Is there a lot of red tape around that?
So we were fortunate in as much as I said, I think earlier, if we had tried this 7 or 8 years ago, change of use would have been a real challenge. But the sort of planning strategy for towns like this has changed somewhat. So there's far greater diversity on the industrial estate compared to maybe, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. You've got fun abounds, you've got leisure, you've got some retail, and this building therefore was not so difficult to get change of use on after all, and it had been empty for a while, so these things were in our favor, and we actually had no problem securing change of use. We had no objections. Thank you for the Chamber's support in a statement to Wealdon District Council. So change of use for us at this time was not a problem. But other times it can be. And other churches like ours across the country have had some difficulties. They've looked to buy a building but haven't got change of use. But we have had no problem with that.
Good.
I will say building control also was a big factor. So getting the building and changing its use is one thing, but making it safe so that you can have 200 people in it, that's a whole other problem entirely. And building regulations are so strict nowadays that, you know, the door width or how many sensors you have in, that plays a big part. So a massive part of us getting ready was, you know, making the building compliant from a fire regulation as well. And that did take a lot of effort. And one of our volunteers has changed every single individual door in the building to make it more compliant. And there's like 70 doors. So it's a massive job. So getting the building and changing its use, that's fine. But yeah, actually getting the building up to spec was the tricky bit, I would say.
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, that's right. And of course, it's not quite finished. It's not, you're not sitting back thinking it's finished complete. There is probably a little bit more money to spend on it, taking it forward. I don't know how much of that you're allowed to share on this, but do you want to say a few words about that?
Well, it is a work in progress, and it's got phases to it. It's a great venue as it is. I mean, it's just something I still pinch myself about when I walk in here to think
let's
we've got
move
our
on
own
to the next
building.
slide. Sorry, Aid. Let's.
Oh, okay. So I'll come back to that other point.
Can we come back to that one? Sorry. Can we come
no problem.
The next slide, if I may?
So, as I said earlier, I think the reputation of the church is a relatively positive one in the town in terms of having served in different ways. So the toddler group continues to be really highly regarded and very popular. It's a free toddler group. So that's taken place over the years in different venues, and it's great to base it here now. And it works well. People come in large numbers. It's a really meaningful way for parents, on the whole, it's the mums, but not only, sometimes it's the dads, to have some sense of community, some sense of contact with other people at a very challenging stage of life, looking after little ones. So we do that free of charge, and we have volunteers helping run that, and that goes on every Friday morning. And the potential of the building is such that we would love to see other activities take place to serve the town. So we have coming up a Christmas fun morning, which we've done for several years now with craft, etc., for young families. And there are other things we are hoping to develop. And what we do really is not what the leaders say we must do this. It's about the availability of volunteers, the passion, the vision, the gifts, the talents of the church members at any given time. So someone might want to start a group for the elderly, or someone might want to start a coffee morning drop-in for the lonely, or any of these things are really possibilities as we really establish ourselves in this new building.
Good, thanks, Aid. Let's just move on to the next slide, Gordon, if we can. We had an open morning. I've forgotten that one was in there. So yeah, that's a good picture on the right, by the way, isn't it? That's a nice one. So we did have an open morning. We had the mayor and the deputy mayor there with us, and the lovely Jane Midgen from Wilden Kitchen provided the pastries, and that was a few weeks back now, wasn't it? I think, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we held this event for leaders in the town, including local councillors. It was great to receive the guests and to just be able to share something of the story that I've already mentioned to you regarding how we came to have this building, the vision we have as to how we might use it, and to give a tour of the building. And also we had an exhibition upstairs with banners and screens featuring different aspects of church life to give people a flavour of who we are and what we do. And it was lovely. The mayor posted a very positive Instagram piece regarding the morning. And she particularly loved Grace's mural in the lounge there. So clearly a person with an eye for style, the mayor.
Clearly.
There we go. She's very positive, is our mayor. We love her to bits.
Yeah,
that's great. I just want to touch before we're going to have a look at the building in a little bit more detail shortly. But this is just this graphic here. It shows us the rooms on the ground floor. They're a little bit small if you're watching this, but you can get a sense of the size of it. And then the first floor as well. So it's sort of open space, lots of grey carpet. But before we get onto the sort of virtual tour, which we want to do today, just a few words from either of you about the opportunity for businesses to come in and rent your premises going forward into 2025.
Well, I'll let Grace speak about this, the idea of people hiring rooms, so she can maybe mention that.
Yeah, I mean, so far we spent so much time trying to get this building ready. Now we're going through the phase of getting it legally ready and having all the right documents. But in the new year, we're looking to start hiring it out. There's a cap on how much we can hire it out due to tax reasons. But other than that, we are kind of ready and raring. There's a lot of very versatile spaces. And yeah, we've had quite a bit of interest already, actually. It's been really nice to see. And we're hoping to make some good partnerships. But it's for 2025, we'll be looking to rent either in the day or perhaps a weekend or an evening. But we are now going through this phase of producing pricing and getting our documents ready so that we can start actually booking things out and getting this space used most days. That'd be lovely.
Of course. Brilliant. Gary, do you think there'll be a demand for this in the town?
There are always people who want to have space for short-term events, just holding meetings for an afternoon or evening. So definitely there's definitely a need for that, and because there is probably a lack of that sort of space in certain parts of the area. So definitely people,
Good.
Especially it looks so good as well.
Indeed.
And the hope. Oh, go on, sorry.
I look forward to the guided tour in a minute.
Oh,
yeah. The hope aid.
Well, Grace will do a great job giving a tour in a moment. Just to come back to this idea of the development of the building moving forward, it's a building that we love as it is, but it's a building with potential to be even better, including having our Sunday mornings upstairs in the bigger, more spacious room, and developing different parts of the building to make it more optimal in terms of how we use it and how we can use it to do different things. So we are at the moment, we've engaged an architect and we want to come up with a master plan of the finished article so that we know the end game that we're aiming for, and then would have to have a phased project to reach that goal. And we hope we can have another open morning with various people when that happens, I would think.
Good. Okay. Should we have a look at the building then, Grace? Can we do that? We sort of rehearsed this earlier, so we've never done this before on this podcast. So we're going to take the slides down, and Grace has picked her phone up, and she's going to leave her office here.
Oh, I know. I'm leaving.
There
my
we go.
cage.
So, Grace, would you like to just talk us through where you are as you walk?
Yeah. So I'm at the front entrance of my office here on the left there. I'm going to take you to the lounge first. We actually have a booking in at the moment. Some guys who are from the industrial estate. They're just having a little meeting.
Oh, okay.
Hello, guys.
Sorry to intrude.
Oh, this is our lounge. Oh, nice wave. Thank you.
Fantastic.
It's a lovely space that we use for youth and for meetings and groups, and yeah, it's a really versatile space that we like. And now we're coming into the stairwell, and I'll take you to our main ground floor room.
Brilliant. So what happens in here, Grace?
So this is where we meet on a Sunday at the moment until we can go upstairs. So we're facing this direction, and we have normally about 100 people in this room. And on a Friday, it gets completely transformed with mats all over the floor for our ARC toddler group. And we are getting about 40 families, just over 40 families each Friday now. And it is packed in here. Not much room to grow, actually. I thought we had loads of space, but it just fills up with lots of families.
Wow,
and then in here, we have our little family room with our little mountain mural. And so this is where we use for toddlers and babies. And we've got a nice little recliner sofa set up. And we just put little coffee station in. So this is where we'll use it on a Sunday for families, for young children of 4 and under. And then for the Ark, we use this as a baby zone for the babies that maybe don't have an older toddler sibling. And so they can be in the calm, quiet space next door rather than the chaos. So I'll quickly, here we have the toilets and kitchen. Do you want to see the toilets and kitchen?
Well, I don't think we've got time for the. Let's have a look at. We've got upstairs. Let's have a look upstairs. Yeah, let's go upstairs. We definitely shouldn't go into the toilets. We could probably have a look at the kitchen. There's another kitchen upstairs, I think, isn't there, as well? So.
There is a kitchen. I'll take you to the kitchen upstairs. So this is our front room.
Wow.
This, at the moment, the only thing it's being used for is kids' work on a Sunday. It's a really wide space. So I don't know if you can fully appreciate how big this room is, but it's triple aspect. So it gets loads of sunlight. And the idea will be that this will be available for business hire. And it'll be a reset room each time. So we'll get that one fully set up for business, but we need to do some work like adding a lift before we can do that. And then this is the big room.
Wow.
So it's massive. I don't know if you can hear my echo. It is a really big space. With bright fuchsia wall. Haven't painted that one yet. Don't look at that one.
I see. That's off brand. That one. That's going to be teal in due course.
Very off brand.
Yeah.
And then this is the kitchen that comes off it. It was recently installed just before we bought it. Actually, I found out it's only a couple of years old, so it's barely been used. I think it's still got some of the packaging on the oven. But yeah, it's a really good sized kitchen. If we had the building with the current configuration, we would probably let this kitchen out for business use. But I mean, just chatting with the architect, there's big dreams that we could do up here. So who knows what will stay and what will go, but it is a very large space.
Wonderful. Grace, thank you so much for showing us around. I think that sort of concludes the tour, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. Okay, Gordon, let's take Grace off there. Brilliant. Thank you, Grace, so much for the tour. What we haven't seen is inside Aid's office, but we can see Aid there. So don't worry too much about that one. He's got his own separate office on the ground floor there as well. So yeah, that was great, wasn't it? That worked brilliantly. Thank you, Grace, so much.
You're welcome.
Good. So in the interest of time, guys, we're going to just press straight on. Aid and Grace, stay with us, won't you? We've got a few sort of final parish notices before we conclude the podcast. So, Gary, coming up on the 28th of November, it's a Thursday evening. That's a week today, in fact. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, it's the autumn members meeting. It's going to be held at Buxted Park Hotel. Obviously, only if you're a member of the chamber. You can obviously book via the chamber website. It's just £10 plus the good old Eventbrite booking fee. It's on from 6 till 8:30 and includes some nice food as well. Of course, we're at a hotel. What else? What else can you ask for?
Indeed. Thank you very much. So we've got well over 40 people booked already for this, so it should be a good one. We have the police speaking at that meeting, talking about preventing business crime. So a really important subject for all members of the chamber to take in. And we look forward to that one. So do book your place straight away. We've got a week to go before that event. And of course, we started the show talking about late night shopping. And here we go. We've got 2 weeks tomorrow, Friday, the 6th of December. 5 o'clock, and there's the packed high street. And if you haven't got your late night shopping magazine yet, it's a 48-page glossy magazine. Really proud of it this year. It's a great publication, tells you everything you need to know about the event. And thank you so much to all the advertisers that have supported this publication. There's 7,000 copies printed, 6,000 delivered to Uckfield homes, and 1,000 distributed at various venues around the town, including the Civic Centre and the library, and all good Uckfield venues. So there we go. That's late night shopping. Chamber, in time-honoured tradition, Gary, have a Christmas lunch. So talk us through this one. What do members have to do to book on
Friday the 13th. Not that we're suspicious or anything, superstition even, but it's being held at the East Sussex National. This is open to members and their guests from 12:30 till 3ish. It's lunch at the East Sussex National, so it's turkey and all the trimmings and vegetarian choice of course, but places still available.
Yeah, they are. Just drop me an email if you'd like to come along. So again, got another good crowd booked in for this one, but it will be a great lunch. So do come along if you're able to do so. Just £36 for 3 courses. And then we move into next year. Just worth plugging this because it is our last podcast of the year. We give this meeting a miss during December, but we're back in January on Wednesday, the 8th of January, between 9 and 10 a.m. It's our virtual networking meeting from the comfort of your own office and desk space to meet online. Everyone gets a 60-second update, and we'll have a speaker at that one too. And then we move on to our winter members meeting, and this will be open for booking soon after next week is out the way. We're back at the East Sussex National in the Roundel on Thursday, the 23rd of January. And again, that will be a tenner as well. And it's worth mentioning, Gary, that the Chamber subsidises these meetings. So, we ask members to pay, but the hotels do charge us a little bit more than this per head to come along to have meetings there. And then we're going to do all this again, not until the 30th of January. And I just needed to make sure and check to see who our guest was. And it's going to be Uckfield Property on the 30th of January. And we have guests lined up on the pod all the way through till April. So if anyone would like to come on and sit where Aid and Grace have sat today in the future next year, then please just get in touch with us at the Chamber and we'll be delighted to schedule you in and join the podcast. Would you recommend people join the podcast, Aid and Grace? Have you enjoyed today?
Yeah, thank you for having us. Yeah.
Bit more an exciting day.
Good. Well, you told us in the pre-show meeting that you'd never done a podcast before, but you'd never known it. You two were absolutely professional. Thank you so much to Aid Ward and to Grace Jones for joining us on the Uckfield Business Podcast this afternoon. We really do appreciate your time, guys. Thank you to everyone who's watched. We're just a couple of minutes over our time, so we haven't done too badly time-wise. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon from Gary and me. A very good afternoon.
Ta-ra.